This summary of the myth of Sisyphus and other essays by Albert Camus is about to begin. Enjoy! Key point 1. Death is always near us. Disclaimer. Please note that this summary discusses the topic of suicide. Sometimes life can feel like a hurricane. Random events destroy connections and dreams, hope waxes and wanes, and all this chaos seems to crush the will to live. Left alone with this overwhelming power, some people lose faith in themselves and wish to return to the darkness that preceded their birth. That is, to commit suicide. The horror and majesty of this act have baffled philosophers through the ages. But Albert Camus, a great thinker of the 20th century, decided to confront them all. In his essays, he dissected the topic of suicide, the hunger for life, and the meaning of existence to offer readers a way to survive in this beautiful and cruel world. No one but you can determine the purpose of your life. Camus sees absurdity as an inherent feature of the universe and projects this idea onto the myth of Sisyphus, the hero doomed to push a large stone up a mountain endlessly, just for it to roll back down again. And yet, Camus believes this work is not in vain. Everyone can make their own path meaningful by rejecting the concept of a higher meaning. Want to try it? Stay with us, and let's learn to savor life through the inevitability of death together. Key point 2. In the beginning, there was chaos. Existential nihilism denies that life has a meaning or higher purpose. It views the world as just a set of chaotic circumstances beyond human control and impossible to comprehend logically. Nihilists argue that either there's no mystic power over the world, which would leave us alone with chaos, or it exists, but is cruel and still unattainable for the human mind. The daily struggle with large and small tragedies also loses meaning, and the inability to understand the world kills hope. In such circumstances, the spirit longs to free itself from the prison of meaningless existence, leading some to commit suicide to gain power over themselves for once. Many philosophers believe this, but not Camus, who concluded that the absurdity of the world doesn't justify suicide. Even a difficult life is rich in possibilities, especially since death is harsh and final. In his opinion, the dilemma of choosing between the sweet illusion of order through religion and nihilism is false. If nihilistic philosophy is true, life has no meaning, but that doesn't mean it becomes less valuable. Accepting absurdity as the truth of existence sets us free to cherish every day in this turbulent world. And when free from an abstract purpose, we can choose what is essential to us and give our love to it. Humanity has been trying to embrace this concept since the beginning of civilization, and the myth of Sisyphus is proof of that. Punished for his insolence, he spends an eternity lifting a heavy stone up a mountain, even though he knows that in the end it will still roll down. Yet, Sisyphus is happy because he has no illusions about his condition and can enjoy the wind on his cheeks, the grass touching his bare feet, and the pain in his muscles that proves he's alive. O my soul, do not aspire to immortal life, but exhaust the limits of the possible. Pindar. Camus invites us to show the same passion, live fully, and appreciate every moment. How? In the next key point, you'll learn more about the 3 types of life travelers. Key point 3. Surviving the chaos. To defeat a monster, the heroes in legends use different weapons. Similarly, Camus suggests 3 different types of behavior that will help you live despite the absurd. The lover passionately pursues love, not for transcendence or eternal connection, but for the intensity of the experience itself. Lovers do not seek a deeper cosmic justification, but embrace fleeting, sensual, and emotional pleasures. For them, love is self-sufficient and worthy of respect, even when it has no higher purpose. An example would be Casanova, who sought new women not because he didn't love any of them, but because his feelings were too vast to be satisfied by one person. The actor lives multiple lives through roles, constantly transforming to embrace the ephemeral nature of existence. Their stage is a miniature reflection of the world, allowing them to inhabit different identities without searching for ultimate meaning. They embody the absurd by fully engaging in the moment, knowing each role is temporary. As a true actor, David Bowie reinvented himself through different characters and saw theatricality as a way of life. The adventurer seeks experiences, risks, and pleasures, valuing the intensity of the present over any abstract or eternal goal. They understand that everything is fleeting, but embrace it anyway, so their life is defined by movement and action rather than fixed goals or overarching meaning. American pilot Amelia Earhart embodied this spirit, taking risks purely for exploration and crossing the Atlantic Ocean simply for the thrill. These types aren't mutually exclusive, and sometimes they blend together. What kind of lover can live without adventure, and what type of actor can portray love without living it? You don't need to limit yourself to one image. Instead, try to relax and notice what resonates with you. Remember to admire today's sunset while dreaming of tomorrow's dawn. Camus offers a refreshing perspective. Instead of chasing meaning, chase experience. Love deeply, transform often, and explore relentlessly. But how can you do this in your modern structured life? Keep going. There's a practical roadmap to help you live more boldly. Key point 4. Escape the labyrinth. Camus believed traditional Western philosophy drowned in despair and hopelessness, so he desperately sought an alternative to these depressing feelings. He found it in Algiers, a place spiritually and aesthetically different from the cities he knew. This country struck Camus with its unique atmosphere that combined sun, sea, and wind. These three elements perfectly complemented the human spirit. People here didn't dwell on the future, but lived in the moment, embracing physical pleasures such as swimming, sunbathing, and movement. Their bodies became a way to understand the world around them and offered sensory fulfillment to the tired heart. They immersed themselves in life's immediate joys and accepted the absurdity of existence without fighting it, just as they would welcome the waves of the ocean, which were sometimes gentle or violent, but always indifferent to humans. This practical, down-to-earth approach contrasted sharply with the mood prevailing in Europe at the time. There, ideologies that detached people from the present moment, such as religious salvation or utopian political ideals, were gaining popularity. But for Camus, earthly happiness based on the tangible and immediate deserved far more attention. He saw joy not as a reward or goal, but as a way of living within the limits of the absurd. Awareness of death does not lead to despair, but rather intensifies the enjoyment of life. The absolute opposite of Algiers was Oran, a city that seemed entirely lifeless for Camus. Urbanization had stripped its inhabitants of bodily pleasures and left only a routine in which people wandered confused like a minotaur in a maze. Day after day they worked their jobs, performed mechanical tasks, and erased their individuality, the ultimate gift for happiness. Nevertheless, even in such an oppressive place, some still seek pleasure in life, because the human spirit, like Sisyphus, relentlessly rolls its burden upward, no matter how heavy. Camus highly respects this, criticizing the sterility of urban life, because people need more than just survival. They need art, beauty, and history to enrich their experiences. Key point 5. The danger of the absolute truth. The cradle of Western civilization was ancient Greece, but to Camus, the Europe of his time had dangerously drifted away from ancient values. The imbalance of social thought at that time was the exact opposite of what the philosophers of the past professed. While the Greeks embraced reason and sensuality, the modern world chose to be fascinated by abstract ideas, ideology, and absolute truths. Society prioritized theories over real experience, though Western philosophy relied on the unity of spirit and body. Helen of Troy embodied this elegance, yet in the 20th century, people were ready to shed blood not for beauty, but for empty political and religious ideologies. There exists an obvious fact that seems utterly moral, namely that a man is always a prey to his truths. Albert Camus. All of Camus's fears were justified. Totalitarian regimes dominated the world, and one after another, 2 world wars devastated entire countries. People deprived of sensuality and balance fell prey to propaganda, and countless lives were destroyed for illusory ideas. In such dark times, with happiness seemingly banished from this hell, Camus tried to find relief in Sisyphus, where he had once lived. This city held memories of his carefree youth, contrasting with the ugly tragedy of the war. There, a mature Camus found joy in nature, reflecting on this dualism of life, and concluded that suffering can coexist with happiness, and neither devalues the other. No matter how strong the thunderstorm was at night, the grass would continue its growth in the morning, and in the same way, a person could recover from hardships. Even if suffering is an indispensable part of existence, happiness will not disappear, so we must dare to say yes to life. You never know how strong you are until you face a problem that forces you to show that strength. Did you know? During World War II, Albert Camus was a member of the French Resistance. Modern researchers believe that his novel The Plague metaphorically conveyed the spread of fascism through the description of the disease. Key point 6. The art of rebellion. Can art really exist outside of politics? What is the artist's place in this world? Where's the line between reflection, rethinking of reality, and propaganda? Absorbed by the events of World War II, Camus wrestled with these questions as both philosopher and writer. In his opinion, the answer lies in the very essence of art. People created it, and all of them felt the influences of their environments. Even the most ancient cave drawings depicted what worried their creators. In other words, art has never existed apart from historical and social contexts. The artist is not an outsider, but a participant in history, using art to challenge oppression and affirm human dignity. A futile attempt to avoid this leads to pure aestheticism, which has little value. All of your creations have meaning because they are filled with your thoughts. At the same time, there's a difference between reflection and direct propaganda. For this reason, Tom Lee's pieces, which tried to make sense of the bloody cost of World War II, remain essential for future generations. Furthermore, the propaganda posters of the Third Reich are now viewed primarily through a political lens. True art does not serve ideology, but instead seeks truth, even if that truth is uncomfortable. It aligns well with the philosophy of absurdism, the perception of reality as it is, without illusions and despair. Camus argues that artists should offer hope, not naive optimism, but a clear-eyed hope rooted in suffering and resilience. Camus believed that an artist who balances freedom and moral responsibility unlocks the spirit of rebellion against the absurd. They can be a voice for the voiceless, show dignity amid despair, and embrace life even when death dominates. Just as we rely on the achievements of the past, the creations of the present will someday be critical to the people of the future. But how do you turn that philosophy into action? A practical guide is just ahead. Don't miss it. Try this. Here's a hands-on guide to bringing Camus's philosophy into your everyday life. Choose one or more of these steps to start embracing the absurd and living fully in the present. Write your own myth of Sisyphus. List 3 repetitive or seemingly meaningless tasks you face daily. Instead of resenting them, find ways to reclaim joy in them, whether through mindfulness, humor, or personal meaning. Create an absurdity log. For 1 week, jot down moments when life feels chaotic or random. Next to each entry, note one small way to respond with curiosity or defiance instead of frustration. Spend a full day without seeking external validation. Make decisions based on what genuinely excites or intrigues you, rather than what others expect. At the end of the day, reflect on how it felt to live on your terms. Practice sensual rebellion. Dedicate 30 minutes to pure sensory indulgence, whether it's feeling the sun on your skin, savoring a meal slowly, or listening to music without distractions. Remind yourself that existence itself is the reward. Identify your personal Camusian archetype. Are you more of a lover, an actor, or an adventurer? Choose one to embody for a day and embrace its philosophy in your interactions and decisions. Rebel through art. Create something, write a poem, take a photograph. Sketch a moment from your day without any intent other than expressing yourself. Resist the urge to perfect it or seek approval. Death will come anyway, so make every day count because life is worth living. Be brave and face a new day with courage and rebellion. Summary complete.